Hi, and welcome to episode 98 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, March 8th, 2015. This will probably be a quick little show, but I wanted to get a recording out just to break the streak of weekly podcasts. I I hope it's not too boring. I kind of knit on one thing. So let me show you what that was. And this is what's been on my needles. Last week, I kind of talked about that I had always in the back of my mind thought that my egg Bohus would be finished by Easter, and that just spurred me on and made me knit on that. And so really, I started something last night, but the Bohus is what I knit on all week. And it might not look like a lot, but I knit on this a lot. So there's a lot of stitches. So last week I had split for the front and back and had done maybe a couple of inches on the front. And so now I have finished the front. And this is my egg Bohus. So I have the front all finished. It was a lot of stockinette stitch. I have a cup of tea here. I'm going to move it out of the way so I don't dunk this white yarn in there. So it's basically stockinette all the way down. And then on the edges, I kind of, this is a reproduction of the Swedish Bohus sweaters. That's a kit that comes from Sweden. And the instructions just call, like, and the original Bohus sweaters just had a 1x1 ribbing on it. And I always like to do something a little bit different on there. And I don't know why, I always think of scallops when I have the Bohus sweaters. So for this one, I chose this really pretty kind of a lacy pattern, and it will, scallop once it gets blocked. This will, scallop down. You can see it kind of undulating up here. But it is, and then on the edge, I just did a 2-stitch I-cord to cast off, which is why these stitches are all cast off, and this on this side are on a needle. And this little ball is waiting for when I do the front bands. Not totally sure what I'm going to do for the front bands, but undoubtedly I will do a 2-stitch I-cord cast off, and so I will use that and kind of go right around and then up and around, and so I just wound off a little. This is going to be a steeked, because this is going to be a steeked cardigan. This is how, up at the top, my steek is, you can see it in the color work there. But I'll be doing a crochet steek, and just to sort of keep myself on track for the middle of the sweater, when I'm knitting, I kind of use just a piece of scrap yarn and just kind of alternate, flick it in front, and after a few rows, then put it back so that it marks that center of the steek. And then I'll be crocheting on either side of that to stabilize the stitches before cutting it up. I could do this sort of line kind of after everything, but I think I'm a little bit closer to not kind of veering off with these, because it's a pretty small gauge, so that doing it while I'm doing it, and then at least there's like something to do. So it was a lot of inches of just plain stockinette stitch, but honestly I don't think I could have gotten half of the body done if I had done the body in the round. I don't think that I would have gotten half of it done doing it in the round, just because I probably would have stopped, because those rounds would have been so much longer. I would have kind of put it down. I seriously forced myself to sit in the chair and knit. So I didn't do any kind of waist shaping on this one. I just kind of did it straight down. So there wasn't even that to sort of, break it up. So now I have put the stitches for the back on my needle and just barely, did the cast on a few stitches for the underarm for the back on each side. And I have all of that to do like over again, which I'm not gonna lie, it feels a little daunting to think that I have to like knit that much to finish the body of it. I don't know that I will power through and try to do that this week and get the back done. But I would really like to have it done by Easter, and it is like really nice out here. It's going to be really nice this whole week, but like today I driving home from church, I had the sunroof open, which it was like 45, but it was still, you can put the sunroof open and not be freezing. The heat was still on the car, but it feels like spring, so I kind of really want to get that sweater done. So I'm fighting a little nasal thing, so let me take a drink of tea and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the thing that I cast on last night, I finished up kind of that edging on the Bohus and got it cast off, and then put the back on, and I just thought, I just couldn't face like starting knitting it last night. And I have something new that I want to cast on that I will show you, but this also was something that I was thinking about casting on. I wore the owl sweater that I knit and then fixed. I wore that for the first time last week, and I just wore it to the grocery store and got a compliment on it. So, but it's, getting kind of nice. I still like to keep my hands covered, but I don't really need to be in full mittens and stuff. And I kept thinking about those fingerless mitts, the quince ones that I knit before Christmas for a gift, and thought, I think I really want another pair of those. And I don't know if you remember, when I ordered the quince yarn for the owl sweater, I also ordered some more chickadee. One of the colors matched it. I bought the Belize color to match the sweater, and then I bought kind of a brown color, like a cinnamon color, to strand with it. And then I just thought, well, I could use the one color and knit a pair of the fingerless mitts like I liked. So that's what I started last night. So this is, it was also a good excuse because I could keep it in my little brown dog bag that I love so much, and it matches like perfectly. So this was the color. This is the color of my owls. It's the Belize color, and this is quince chickadee. And I just knit the cuff. I tell you, 2x2 ribbing usually seems pretty boring, but after all that plain stockinette stitch, this was like super fun. So I just have the cuff done. I'm right where I will start doing the gusset and the sort of kind of lattice, kind of trellis pattern for the back of the mitts. Like I did with the first pair I knit, I did this kind of a decorative, like pretty, but it's very stretchy to cast on with a double strand of yarn. So I just think it makes it look a little bit different and pretty. So that's my only other kind of work in progress that thing that I worked on this week. So yeah, so see, it's going to be fast. Off the needles, I don't have anything off the needles, but I did wear this sweater, and I don't know if it's going to show. I knit this last year, It is by Autumn's End by Alana Dakos. This came from her first botanical knits book. Um, and I changed mine in that I made it a cardigan. And the yarn that I used for this was Sun Valley Fibers MCS, her Merino Cashmere Silk. It's a fingering weight yarn, and it is like super duper soft. I mean, it's really, really soft and nice to wear. You probably wouldn't want to do like a really like hard wearing kind of garment out of it because it's so soft that but I have like little sparkly buttons, so it's kind of more of a dressed up sweat. I'm trying to get this way so that it's like even all the way around. So I will use that for my off the needles, even though I finished it last year. And then for spinning, I showed you last week that I had finished spinning the singles for the yarn I was spinning for a hand spin sweater, and I finished plying it. So this is the plied up yarn. It came out, I was happy, it came out to be about the same weight as what I spun a long time ago. And so I really want to get started knitting the body of this sweater because I really want this sweater done for the spring too. It's just that once I got going on the Bohus, I knew I had to like power through it. Once I could get through the body, then I think the sleeves will be, you know, like faster. I might do the sleeves in the round actually, but I don't know. I'll cross that bridge and when I get there. But at least I have the yarn for this spun. So there is that. So see, it's going to be a quick show. I did do quite a bit of Imagiknitting, but I'm going to kind of lump it in with the show and tell because it was something that new that came. And Friday, it came in the mail. I saw it on Facebook on Thursday because Meg posted it. But my newest issue of Wool Gathering arrived on Friday, and it has the pattern for this gorgeous yoke sweater. So the Wool Gathering, I know I say this every time. This is a little publication put out by Schoolhouse Press, and it usually has a pattern by Meg, and that's what this is. It's a sweater pattern by her. She posted it on Facebook, and then I kind of stalked the mailman on Friday, like hoping that it would arrive, and it did, and I wanted to cast on immediately, but you know, I have these two sweaters that I want to get done, and so I thought about the sample was knit out of Unspun Icelandic, which you know I love and I have a good stash of. And immediately when I saw it, what I thought I wanted to do was, you know, I have all that black sheep that I have left over from the coat that I knitted last fall. I thought of doing it in the black sheep and then the color work at the top to do in. I have this kind of a rose, heathered rose color. I think it would be so pretty. I could just picture it. And I want to do mine, convert mine to a cardigan just because I tend to wear cardigans more than I do pullovers. And she calls this a necklace lace, or a necklace yoke sweater, in that it's more like this size of a neckline instead of like just like a more like regular close fitting neckline. She's got it like under a little you know, white button down blouse, but I can just but what's really nice is that there are more than expanded charts, so that if you want to knit it like this, you know, so that the neckline is like this, you can. But then there is another chart where you can kind of add onto the top of it to close it in a little bit more. And there's another one if you want to do kind of change the gauge up and make it like a thicker yarn so that you can still have this sort of neckline, but you don't have to use all of it. So it's like um, you only go, so far, but you still have to decrease more than for that one. So anyway, it's been a while since I've seen something that made me want to cast on right away. I used to, way before Ravelry and that there were like yarn stores even around, but I used to kind of wait. I would have subscriptions to the knitting magazines and would just kind of wait for them to arrive, like hoping that there would be like a new sweater that I wanted to knit, and a lot of times there weren't, and that's kind of what made me like start just wanting to like figure out what do I want to do and knitting my own, just because there wasn't anything that I was like really inspired to knit. This one I was in the longest time. It's been the first time in the longest time that I have wanted to just sit down and knit, and I had the yarn here. I wanted to cast on, and part of it too is I was so sick of knitting that way. So then I was thinking, I was like, oh, that would be so pretty with the dark, like deep charcoaly black color with the pink. And it's not really a pink, it's more of a rose. It's not like a baby pink. And then I thought all these like other combinations that would be really pretty to kind of, instead of the dark body to do, they have in the unspun, there's this color called Donahue, which is, it's not even like a silvery gray. It's kind of like a cream with like black, like how sometimes gray fleeces are. They just have that little like flecks of like dark in it. So it looks more heathered, but to do that for the body and then do the color work in that really bright kind of royally blue like I did my hat last year at camp, I think that would be really pretty too. So I thought of like Shetland yarns that I have back in the stash. I have like a persimmon color that would be pretty. I have a mist color would be pretty. So this is going to be knit. Maybe this will be a good thing to like knit on, like I can knit the body like at camp or something next summer, or like at CK or something, do that like body. And I don't know if it shows, you can sort of see the sleeves. They look really, really long because they have this kind of like a long garter cuff. And I'm just guessing that this is Meg's sweater. She's tall, so I know at camp we get to try on her sweaters and they're like always longer, so I don't know that those sleeves look really long, but I think it's just because it gets so narrow at the bottom. And then I don't know if it's going to show, but the bottom has sort of a shirt tail, like a split shirt tail bottom that is garter. And I don't know that I would do, if I'm going to convert it to a cardigan, I might eliminate that just because it looks, I like it with the pullover, but I don't know if I would like that with a cardigan. But this is definitely going to be done. And I know you can order, I have this subscription, but I know you can order these from the website. And once if they sell out, they usually put them into like their separate patterns. And then I have one more show and tell. Let me take some. So I have one more thing for show and tell, and that is this book. It's a knitted mitten book. The author is Solveig Larsson. She is a Swedish lady. This book was previously published just in Sweden, in Swedish, and this version was published like in January by Trafalgar Square Books. I was so excited when I saw that they were having this book was going to be published in English, because I have been a fan of this lady's Mittens for quite a few years, and she has published a goodly number of books. with mitten designs. One of them I'm just like in love with, and I was just sort of praying that it was going to be in here, and it's not, but you know, that's okay. But she had one that had pansies on it. It was so pretty. But that was she designed several years ago. I at the time I showed it to a friend of mine, and we were both just gaga over it. We wanted the book, and she and we investigated um, trying to get a copy from Sweden, and it was just going to be a a lot to import it. So kind of gave that up. But she kind of designs patterns from nature, kind of inspired by nature. And then this one has also patterns that were inspired by kind of uh, uh, women knitters of the past, and kind of areas, little kind of areas in Sweden, with traditional motifs and things. Um, so anyway, it's a hardcover book, and it's like a little square book. I bought this. Nobody, you know, sent this to me or anything, but they are all like charted patterns, and so she puts in kind of the picture. See if I can find one. So she'll put in like the picture that she took, and then the mitten that was inspired by that picture. Um, it's a really sweet book. And there's kind of little little stories about each of the mittens, and about kind of like each of these different, like just little writing. They're not in-depth sort of histories, but really sweet and kind of heartfelt. I know there were a couple of them that I kind of teared up a little, just the stories of, these ladies, knitting mittens to sort of, and selling them to sort of during hard times to kind of like feed their families, and um, just a really wonderful book. So then all the patterns are charted, and there is kind of just one kind of written out pattern instructions. And so I was looking at that. The calls for fingering weight yarn, which is, I love to do the like little mittens and things. And I look at it, there's no gauge listed. You know how I feel about gauge. So it just tells, use size 1 or 2 needles, and they're all kind of based on the stitch count. All the charts are based on the same pattern. It's like her basic recipe. So, I mean, I can, figure out kind of how the circumference of the mitten that I want, and the stitch count, and, figure out the gauge. And I was surprised it ended up to be quite a bit much looser than I normally knit my mittens, especially fingering weight mittens. And because the tighter you knit them, the warmer your hands are going to stay, because you don't want the air kind of getting through the mittens. And so I thought, okay, I was still like, okay, I could just use thicker yarn, and so that I can get a denser fabric. And then I kept reading, and till I got to like her finishing instructions. And what she does, because I'm figuring she lives in northern Sweden, it's got to be cold there. And so what she does, she sort of semi-folds the mittens at the end. So you really can't use like superwash yarn with this. So she sort of like shocks it from, puts them in, hot to cold a couple of times. Then just lets them dry flat. And when they're completely dry, takes a brush and brushes the surface of both the inside and the outside. So, I mean, I could see, brushing up the outside of the mitten. It kind of scares me a little to brush up the inside with all those floats. But I am going to knit a pair and do that and just like see how it works and see how it is, because then I can always like use these charts for um, different ones. And there are many more. This just has 9 pictures on the cover. There aren't like many, many more. But it's really beautiful because there's these beautiful pictures of Sweden, which is, someplace I've never been. Someplace I'll never go. But considering I love the Bohus, I loved the twine knitting. I love like all these mittens. It's like I think I must have been Swedish in a former life or something because I love all of the knitting from there. So, but anyway, so that came, and I know I would love to start one of those right away, but kind of want to, maybe like in the summer. I love knitting like mittens and things in the summer, so just that they're small and it'll be fun to put colors together and do those. So they might be fun in hand spun too, I think. So anyway, that is about all that I have for you today. I am going to go out and take a walk and come back and open the doors and get some fresh air in the house. It's really feeling spring-like. We're getting like areas of patches where the snow has melted, and I'm going to walk and like start looking for robins and listening for robins because it's going to be nice all week. So I hope it's nice, wherever you are. And I know there's still a lot. I see pictures on Instagram. There's still a lot of snow out in the East Coast, but hopefully it's going to be spring for everybody pretty soon. So I want to thank you all for watching. Oh, and I got several messages this week from people, just kind of, nice messages about the podcast. And I want to thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And you can watch it on iTunes, and you can watch it on and follow it on YouTube also. If you follow it on YouTube, make sure you're following the channel that's Heartland Knits. It's Heartland Space Knits, because that's where you're going to find. If you try to follow, there is way back when I joined YouTube, when I first joined YouTube, it was like one of the only things that I didn't use Heartland Knits on. I used a different name. So then when I was going to like do the podcast and there were like people posting it to YouTube, I kind of didn't want to use that one because it wasn't Heartland Knits. So I actually like kind of opened up another Gmail account so that I could call it that. But then every time I want to go to that, I'd have to like switch out of accounts and stuff. And so somewhere along the lines, I lost like passwords and everything for that. And then they made it so when I started uploading to YouTube kind of last summer, they had it so that I could just make a different channel under kind of my regular account. So that's the one that I upload to now. So I think that other one is still like there. If you search for it, you're going to come up with it, but nothing happens. You're not going to find anything on there. So if you want to follow it on YouTube, just make sure you're following it with the 2 like Heartland Space Knits. But thank you all so much for watching, and until I see you next week, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.